So welcome to the DevOps Speakeasy at JFocus. My name's Stephen Chin. I'm the VP of Developer Relations at JFrog, and I'm hosting a bunch of the speakers and interview here, and I'm pleased to be joined by Georges Saab, who's the VP of the Java Platform team at Oracle, and also the chair of the OpenJDK Governing Board. How are you doing, George?
I'm doing great. Nice to see you, Steve.
So this is not the JFocus I'm used to. Normally we'd be skiing,
Or we'd be maybe skating on the
skating
ice,
around
in the
on
middle
the-
of
on the
winter,
ice.
usually February.
so this is a pleasant surprise. But I think also a great time to be here because Java 17 is out and real, and
And
we
Java
have,
18 is out.
Oh, Java
and
18 is
real.
out and real
Yeah.
as well. Java 17 being the LTS release, so I
That's
think
right.
that for big companies, that's the one which they would tend to move to and adopt. And it's exciting that the Java platform's evolving so quickly now.
Yeah.
So how have you seen uptake of the JDK releases?
Yeah, I mean, it's been really cool. Of course, there are lots of people who run on Java 8 and probably plan to do so for many years to come. But what we've seen is with the 6-month releases, developers are getting something that they never got before, which is access to new features in Java in a production-ready version on a 6-month basis, which is awesome and new for them. But for enterprises that maybe don't want to sort of adopt the newest, latest right away, but want to sort of know they're running on something where it's going to be stable and they're just going to have security updates for years to come. A lot of them have started to move on to JDK 11, and as you said, 17 is now the new LTS. It's only been out less than a year now, but we're seeing pretty rapid adoption of that as well. And so my expectation is. I think we're going to have a lot of people go directly from 8 to 17, and we're certainly seeing that, but also people who went to 11 going directly
Are
to
now
17.
considering going to 17.
So I think 17 is kind of, it's the new 8, and 11 was sort of the new 7.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think this is really exciting. So when the new release train was first announced, I think a lot of folks were skeptical on the 6-month releases and how could you possibly keep up with the rate of change. But I think if anything, it's been the opposite. So moving from one 6-month release to the next, it's relatively painless.
Yeah.
Because you have a smaller set of incremental changes you have to adopt.
Yeah.
And then if you need to, you can stay on an LTS release and get really good support.
Yeah, I think that has worked out really nicely. I think another thing that has been exciting to see is a lot of the projects, the libraries, the frameworks out in the Java ecosystem, which is one of the reasons why people love it, have found ways of starting to adopt these and found it interesting with things happening all the time. So rather than sort of putting it off on the shelf and waiting a year before they come back and look to it, now they can kind of constantly look and add support for new things. I think a pretty popular model now is to have a couple of CI/CD pipelines, where you have one that's running on the last LTS, and you have one that's running on the newest, latest 6 months, or even EAs of the next one. And that was really our intent, right? We wanted it to be something where it was easier for people to do this, where it was easy to experiment, and above all, to give us feedback. So when we put a feature into the next 6-month release, one of the reasons, what we try to do now is often those will go in as a preview, so you don't accidentally use it and start to become dependent.
Yeah.
But basically, it's easier for people to try it out in real life. And that's how we get feedback to know whether what we're doing is breaking things or useful, are there corner cases we missed, all that kind of stuff. Pretty cool.
So speaking of new features, I think one of the things which we've all been super excited about is Project Loom.
Absolutely.
And that's actually got targeted for a release now.
Well, it's so to be clear, right now it's proposed to target, and we're kind of in the week where it's sort of a feedback period. So people who are involved in contributing to OpenJDK can ask questions, learn about it, to the extent they haven't been looking at it for the last 4 years, and give feedback. But things look pretty promising. It's gotten already a ton of scrutiny and review and improvements made, but it looks great. I mean, of course, interestingly, all of the pieces of Loom which could be sort of broken out and done earlier, like support in the libraries, a lot of changes to native code and taking away assumptions so that virtual threads can be there and scale, have already been done as we've been going along. So it's really sort of the last big
like kind of the API
basketball
and
that's coming in. Yeah, and a neat thing, honestly, one of the most flattering comments that I saw from people who had looked at this was, wow, I'm really amazed because I know this is a big thing and a lot of underpinnings changed, but the actual surface area of what my application will need to do to take advantage of it is small and tiny and easy to understand.
Yeah.
And for us, that's what it should be. That's thoughtful evolution. Doing something that has a bunch of crazy stuff where you have to change everything, that's easy. Doing something where it looks the same is super hard.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things which folks who are looking at the Java development from the outside in might not appreciate is there's a lot of work which goes on in the core Java team to do very complex features like modularity, like virtual threads, all of this, all these underpinnings, where that engineering effort goes to minimize the amount of change and incompatibilities which folks are going to have when they actually use it in their applications.
Absolutely. And then to the extent there's change, to make it so that that change feels graceful and natural and sort of like it was a part of Java from the beginning. Not like, something that's kind of bolted on the side that feels weird.
And I think something else which also, like, you hear about it all on the outside, but you also don't appreciate is the amount of effort which goes in internally on security as a focus, both in terms of security of the platform, doing security patches across different releases, and how, like, what sort of things do you do in the Java platform team to make sure that Java is a secure platform for developers?
Yeah, I mean, there's a huge amount that goes into that. I mean, basically soup to nuts on features from the time when somebody's even contemplating doing a particular kind of feature, talking with the people whose actual focus is on security 24/7, and sort of understanding what are the kinds of things that this feature might tickle in terms of new surface area, and then basically planning all that out, thinking about what kind of testing may catch issues, how could it possibly be broken, right, and thinking through that. All the way through to review of the code, review of all of the tests that are going in, et cetera. And that's for like new features that are coming in, right? And then in addition to that, of course, there's all of the work that we do for both finding and fixing vulnerabilities ourselves. We do that through something that we call the vulnerability group, where we try to get expertise from across the industry and vendors who are involved with their own downstream distributions from OpenJDK, as well as, of course, the Oracle subscription and subscribers, basically making sure that fixes go into all of the releases affected at the same time.
Because so even if you're still on Java 8, you're still getting the benefit of new security vulnerabilities.
Yeah, and you're going to for years. And that can be hard, right? Because basically, we put the fixes into the tip, then a lot of people may try to backport it, but that can be really hard and complex. So the more you know about the source code through the years, how it's changed, et cetera, the better job you can do in making sure that you're keeping people secure.
Nice, nice. Okay, so it sounds like there's a whole bunch of moving parts which go into making the Java platform great and a great experience for developers. What's the best way for folks to keep track of this, to follow the ongoing changes, to kind of be abreast of the latest advances in the Java community?
Yeah, so I think there are a couple of things to look at. One really great resource is the OpenJDK website, where you can see JEPs and find out, from an early state what's going on. If you're interested in, kind of even more sort of early signals, the mailing list where the developers who are collaborating on these features discuss ideas, even before they get to the point of a JEP. You can look at that. Another great thing to look at is the dev.java website, and there's a particular section of that that's called inside.java. And on that, there are basically a bunch of resources from people on my team when they're blogging here or there, writing about it. So it's sort of getting a picture of the sort of perspective on developing new features for Java from the team that's making it.
Cool. No, so it's been great chatting you here in JFocus.
Yeah.
This is awesome to have everyone together. I think there's something like 1,600 Java developers here.
It's amazing, and especially it feels really amazing just because it's been so long since we've been able to get together and see people in person. But this is just such an amazing community. It always has been, and it's wonderful to see people getting together and rekindling old friendships and making new ones.
Nice.
So it's awesome.
All right. Thanks so much, George. Appreciate you spending the time to talk. And you can watch more of our great interviews on the DevOps Speakeasy YouTube channel. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Steve.